So today we're going to be checking out my top RC gadgets and tools for beginners and RC veterans alike. These are all things that I think are super useful and make your life a lot easier. Now you may have seen me feature some of these on the channel already. We've got some really cool gadgets to get through, so in no particular order, let's check them out. So first up, we've got the Endura electric screwdriver. I use this thing all the time. It just makes life so much easier. You know, it's nice and small in the hand, dead easy to charge. You just got basically a USB-C port on the back there, and it actually lasts a really long time just off one charge. You know, super simple to change your bits. They just basically pull and push out, nice and simple. Comes with a nice assortment of bits out of the box as well. You know, you've got various different sizes for your hex drivers as well as your box wrenches that are all really useful for mini crawlers and for your larger scale rigs as well. Do you want to get a wheel off, instead of doing it by hand, just literally get your screwdriver on there. Boom, it's off. I mean, how quick and easy was that? This thing has made my life so much easier working on mini crawlers and the larger scales, you know, instead of having to do everything by hand all the time. Next up, we've got this air blower from GT Power. I use this thing to dry my rigs off after I've been mudding and through the water and everything. It's fantastic for getting in all the little nooks and crannies that you wouldn't be able to just dry off by hand. Or you could use it if you were blowing dust off and things like that. But yeah, it's really useful. It's nice and small in the hand, dead easy to use. Got a few different attachments for the end. So if you do want to change whether it's like a focused kind of blast of air or a wider blast of air, you can change that as well. Nice and easy to charge using the USB-C charger, and you can see it actually lights up to show you what the battery life is remaining as well, which is really, really cool. Next up, we've got the Sky RC GNSS Performance Analyzer. These things are great for speed runs, 0 to 60 times, you know, track times and stuff. Also, you can measure things like altitude and stuff like that. You can download an app on your phone and they connect to your phone via Bluetooth, and then you can use the GPS on your phone to then obviously measure all the different things within the app. You've probably seen a lot of people use these on YouTube for their speed runs and everything like that. Really, really useful bit of kit. Next up, we've got a really useful tool if you're doing like an event or you're out on the trail and you want to check how much runtime you got left on your battery. We've got the capacity checkers. Now you can get various different ones. I just got this one off AliExpress, nice and cheap, but you literally just plug your battery in. It'll then just basically connect to the battery, show you what the voltage is, show you how many cells it is, you know, how much percentage you've got left. So this one's like 71%. You can flick through the different modes to go between different battery types and so on. You can see the individual cell voltage if you want to, or just the overall voltage. Yeah, you know, really, really useful. You know, sometimes you're out trailing or, you know, you're doing an event and you're kind of like, oh, how much runtime have I got left in this battery now? Something small and simple like this, plug your battery in, job done. You know you're not going to left stranded and do that walk of shame back to the car. Next up, we got a shock absorber multi-tool. This thing is really, really useful. There's so many cool things you can do with it. Its main kind of purpose is for holding your shock shafts in place so you're not going to scratch them when you're assembling your shock absorbers. You know, whereas normally you might just use like a pair of pliers and then you end up scratching your shock shafts. You know, with this thing, it keeps your shock shaft nice and smooth. You can also do like your pivot balls. You can even measure your screw lengths on it as well. So you just pop your screw in there and you can see how long your screw is. You can pick these up dead cheap. I think I paid like $6 on AliExpress for this. So yeah, there's another one really useful to have in your toolkit. Next up, we've got the Sky RC corner weight system. Now, I mainly use these for checking the weight bias and distribution on my builds. So you can see, you can again connect it to the Sky RC app. You can see everything's like 0 grams. You choose which layout you want for the scales and everything. And if we take my FCX18 K10 farm truck and pop it on the scales, we can then see what our overall weight is, what our weight bias is front to rear, you know, what the individual weight is on each corner of each axle. So yeah, really, really cool. So you can see this one weighs 900 grams and we've actually got a 50-50 split front to rear, which is, you know, pretty cool. But yeah, I love the app. I'm a real numbers geek and this is probably one of my favorite gadgets that I own. So next one is a pretty obvious one, but just get yourself a decent battery charger that can also storage charge. Now, I really like this Sky RC T100. It's a dual charger. It can charge up to 4S batteries. You can see all the different kind of options you can go through for all the different charging battery types and all the different things you can do with it. You know, it's a really cool charger. Now, I'm normally charging LiPo batteries, and as I do a lot of crawling, they're normally 2 to 3S batteries. So you can see we can do balance charging, we can do charging, we can do storage charging. And with those different options, you know, we can charge from 0.1 amps all the to 5 amps. And then you can charge from a 2S all the way up to a 4S battery. Now the ports themselves, you've got included XT60 ports, and then you've got your balance ports. So I've got a 3S XT60 battery here. So with the battery connected, we can basically just say, right, we're going to charge it at 2.9 amps as it's a 2900 milliamp hour. It is a 3S LiPo. If we just hold down start, it'll just basically check it, make sure the cells are correct and everything. And then you can just go, boom, there you go. And it shows, you know, what the actual total percentage is, what the voltage is, how many milliamps have been charged, and you can cycle through and see the actual voltages per cell and everything as well. If we wanted to, we could do a storage charge, again, the same thing. So it's just going to check it, make sure it's all okay, and then we can say, yeah, all good. And then again, it's going to start discharging it, and again, it's going to show you what the percentage is as it then storage charges the battery. Obviously, there's loads of different chargers out there, but this is my go-to charger, and I use this like all the time. Next up, we've got a reamer. I know this thing's got a bit of a weird name, but it is really useful for when you are working on like RC bodies and you want to make a hole in the body for maybe, you know, mounting like a light kit or something like that. You can see there it's actually got the measurements to tell you what size hole you're going to end up making. And, you know, dead easy. You can just get the actual body you want to work with and just start rotating away to make that hole in the body. So obviously you go as deep as you want to make a hole, but the nice thing about this is instead of using like a drill bit where you might end up then like, you know, cracking the actual body or anything, you know, this generally gives you a nice clean hole. I use this all the time for if I'm fitting like, you know, roof racks, or if I'm fitting like, you know, light buckets and stuff like that to the top. You know, it makes your life so much easier, and because you can do it by hand, you don't have to go farting about with like a drill and stuff like that. And yeah, generally it'll give you a nice clean hole. Again, it's a nice cheap tool and definitely one to have in your toolkit. So then the last few things we've got then is hex drivers. You know, it's always worth buying some decent hex drivers. I really like these sets from Little Guy Racing Parts, but you know, there's loads of different sets you can get from various different companies, but it is worth paying for a decent set because, you know, you don't want to end up like rounding off your screws and everything like that when you're working on an RC. There's nothing worse than having like a rounded screw, you know, when you're trying to get something undone and you're like, oh man. So yeah, definitely worth investing in a decent driver set. Another thing that's definitely worth investing in is some form of lipo bag, or like, you know, a bat safe or ammo box or something like that, that, you know, you can store your lipo batteries in, but you can also put them in when you are charging your batteries. You know, a lot of people worry about lipo fires and stuff like that, so it's definitely worth making the investment in something to keep your batteries and your property safe. Now, one thing I think you can never have enough of is zip ties. I use these things loads for doing like wire tucks and stuff like that. And yeah, you know, super essential to have in your toolkit, if you ask me. When I used to work on real cars, I think half my car was probably held together with zip ties, to be quite honest. But yeah, definitely something you want in your toolkit. The other thing I'd recommend having in your toolkit is some form of grease. I use this white marine grease when I'm like servicing my RCs. You know, if you like getting your rigs wet and muddy like I do, something like this, you know, is really good to use. Now, if you'd like to win some cash to pay for some of those cool RC gadgets and tools, then check out the raffle link in my description. You could win £250, which is about $315 for just £1 a ticket. Or if you'd rather win a brand new TRX4M instead, again, check out the raffle link in the description. I'm giving away a brand new Defender or a Bronco in your choice of colour, again, for just £1 a ticket. Now, I'll put links in the description to all of the products that I featured in this video if you want to check them out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop me a comment if you've got any questions. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.